Once again, Hipster Shill Gamer. He came out with a video not too long ago, which you don't even have to watch it, or
But I did watch it. So let's destroy HipHopGamer's idiocracy.
And this leads me to your Street Fighter V review, where you stated it is easily, hands down, the best looking Street Fighter ever. And
I really gotta explain this? You're seriously telling me that I have to explain this to a grown-ass man who, by all logical rights, this shit is common sense crap. This is not fucking rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. This is literally straight up common sense shit. But here we go. Alright, let's travel back in time to the NES. Super Mario Bros. Versus visually Super Mario Bros. 3. Which one is better? Obviously Super Mario Bros. 3. Why is this? Well, obviously the technology did not change within the time frame of the game's releases. So the only thing that changed was the technique in how they created and developed the graphics for each individual game. Their technique was improved upon. In fact, you could even do the same thing goes for Super Mario Bros. 2. And when comparing it to the graphics of Super Mario Bros., once again, the technique has changed. An improved technique means visually it's going to be more appealing. Super Mario Bros. 2 compared to Mario Bros. 3, visually, obviously, Mario Bros. 3 is more visually appealing because of an improved technique. Now, if we jump to, say, the Super Mario Bros. 3 and compare it to Super Mario Bros. World, what do we ultimately end up here, ladies and gentlemen? What do we end up here with? Improved technology and improved technique. And then if we go drastically, we're going to completely change the graphic style now. Super Mario Bros. World visually compared to Super Mario Bros. 64. Now we're not just dealing with new technology. We're not just dealing with new techniques. We're dealing with a completely graphic style. We're going from 2D to 3D. So for an individual to iterate to the greater gratification that said game and said franchise is visually the best out of all previous ones is complete fucking ignorance. Clearly this person has no idea what graphics are, how they work, and the process to create them. Apparently they also don't realize that new techniques come along that allow people to create better looking techniques. Take a game, PlayStation 3, beginning to any PlayStation 3 game released now, visually that game is going to look better because of new techniques. We take a game from the PS3 era, compare it, hell, we'll even change consoles, right? 360, Xbox One. Take a game, compare them visually, which one is going to be better? Well, now we're not just dealing with simple technique, we're also dealing with newer hardware. So obviously, the game on the Xbox One is going to be visually more stunning than the predecessing machine of the Xbox 360. This same concept applies to even a PC. If you have a more outdated graphics card, your game isn't going to look as crisp as it would look with a newer graphics card. We're dealing with technology, we're dealing with techniques, we're dealing with two different visual status of games here, because yes, Street Fighter started as a 2D fighting game. So for any individual to iterate that this game and this franchise looks better than any other one, you're a graphic whore, because you're too stupid to realize just how fucking retarded you just made yourself sound. This is why I iterate to the greater gratification that reviewing graphics in games is stupid. Factually, it is stupid because they will become outdated. When the next Street Fighter game comes out, we're not talking Street Fighter V Suck a Gold Cock Edition, alright? We're talking Street Fighter 6. It is visually going to look more appealing than Street Fighter V. If Bethesda decides to create a new Elder Scrolls game, it is going to look visually more better and improved than Skyrim. This is the world we live into. So HipHopGamer, pull your head out of your ass.
What do you say to the gamer who feels if they pay $60 for a video game, they are entitled to expect the game to work out of the box and contain the content released in previous versions?
All right, so directly after that, he basically gives a couple of examples. He starts talking about Netflix, and, it may not be Netflix's problem. It may be like your internet service or something like that. But the problem with that Netflix example is it could be a problem with the individual's computer. It could be a problem with their actual internet. And yes, it could also be a problem with the actual server where the video is, which in case then would make it, yes, it is Netflix problems. And anyone who is tech savvy in any facet that thereof already knows how to troubleshoot this basic ideology. For example, if you can't get Facebook to load up, the easiest way to figure out if it's a problem with your internet is to go to another website. If that website loads up, it's a problem with Facebook. If that website doesn't load up, there's something wrong with your internet. Logic here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're talking about. So it's a poor example within of itself because it really actually has no solid example in comparing to a video game. He also talks about a phone, because you can purchase a phone, the phone works, but it ends up breaking, whatever the case may be. The problem with that example is we're talking about an electronic device that comes with a warranty. Now, whether that warranty is that basic average 90-day warranty or an individual decides to take out an extended warranty, usually offered from whatever retailer they purchase it from, even then, even the actual manufacturer may have an extended warranty plan that they can purchase separately online at a later time within of itself. So there's all this stuff that you have when you buy something like an electronic device. It's a poor example when it comes to a video game because video games don't have a warranty. There's nothing iterated any kind of way to say, hey, if this game, for whatever reason, you don't like it, or not necessarily if you don't like it, because then that would just be fucking crazy. If something ends up wrong with it, broken, whatever, here's a 90-day warranty, we'll give you your money back. Because at the end of the day, that's something that you really couldn't exchange it, because exchanging wouldn't make any sense, because everything is the same, so you'd still have the same problem that you have. So his examples of somehow iterating that a gamer is not entitled to not getting a broken pile, a piece of shit game, completely falls flat on itself. Because video games do not have a warranty. You cannot compare it to something like a product such as a phone. You cannot compare it to something like an internet-based service or a service that is ran over the internet. Understandable if you're talking about people that were complaining about their game that's somewhere on a cloud. Yes, then you could use the Netflix example, but we're talking about a game that a person bought that has issues on the disc. Just a thought there.
You bought Street Fighter 5. You're not buying Street Fighter 4. You're not buying Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 5 is a different game. And that's what I mean by spoiled gamers. Like, if something has been in a game franchise for so long and the creator decided to do things different, allow them to, because they are the creators.
So obviously in this one he's referring to Street Fighter 5 not having an arcade mode, and therefore because it is honestly Capcom's property, it's their game, it's their imagination, they can do whatever they want with their game. But this isn't something like Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, the original, was basically a turn-based battle system. When they're remaking it, it's no longer a turn-based battle system. It's going to be something more similar to that of Kingdom Hearts. In that area, I can agree with that. But we're talking about a main aspect of a fighting game in general. The main aspect of any fighting game, arcade mode. And this is a mode that is not just significant to Street Fighter, but Mortal Kombat and the fighting genre as a whole. It is a part of the genre. You see, turn-based battle system is not inherently a part of the RPG genre, because there you have action RPGs, you have tactical based RPGs, so there are many different elements that they could go with. So all that they really did in that is they got rid of the turn based and they went with an action based. You can't do that same concept within Street Fighter. We're talking about an arcade mode, something that has been there. This has nothing to do with nostalgia. This has nothing to do with the developer's creativity, because this would actually extend their creativity. But yet they took a basic fundamental of a game, a feature out that is prevalent and pretty much almost required in every fighting game. Even free-to-play fighting games have an arcade mode. It's like it's a part of it. To take something out that is a part of it is relatively ridiculous. It's like creating an RPG game, but the characters don't level up. Now, yes, there was a game like that. It was called Dark Cloud, but the weapons leveled up instead of the characters. I'm talking about completely taking out a leveling up system and calling it an RPG. It just wouldn't make sense, since that is like a staple of that genre. So you're talking about removing a staple from a genre, not really something that is creative within of itself. Like the developers create a new character and then they change their mind because they don't want to do it. That's their decision. That's where your argument would fit. But we're talking about something that is prevalent to the game. And that they had already iterated that they were going to add in a later anyway. So they basically were going to put it in the game anyway, but they rushed it to get the game out there. So you yourself are basically saying that it's okay for them to do that it's okay to buy and purchase an incomplete game. You want to sit here and you want to talk about how gamers are entitled. But they're not the ones sucking Capcom's dick right now.
If you don't like what they're doing, then vote with your wallet and don't buy it. But if you're going to buy it, don't tell them how they should make something, because it's the situation where you can't please everybody. Everybody's going to have something to complain about.
So instead of complaining, you should speak out with your wallet instead, because, not everyone likes the same thing. So, there's always going to be different opinions. But tell me, how many gamers, when they review a fighting game, are like, oh, great, another arcade mode in another fighting game. Let's talk about the story mode. Exactly what are people voicing their thoughts and concerns when it comes to the story mode in Street Fighter? Because I iterate to the greater idea that they wanted something a little more in-depth. Maybe even something that possibly could rival or even be better than in any previous Mortal Kombat game that had a story mode. So what is wrong with a gamer wanting quality in their game? And who the fuck are you to tell people that they don't deserve that quality? That it's better to allow the developers to do half-assed jobs? And on what? Because you somehow iterate to the greater gratification that people's opinions are different? How many people honestly want shitty quality games versus a quality game? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a quality story mode. We're talking about a quality game that actually has a fundamental of a fighting game, which is an arcade mode, which adds to the quality of the game to make the game overall better. And yet it lacked an arcade mode. Its story mode is lackluster, incomplete. And for what? Because of this tournament. That's what it's for. It had nothing to do with the gamers and everything to do with this tournament that surrounds Street Fighter V. And here you are defending the very idiocracy of a company who'd rather give their valued customers, the people that supported them for years, a shitty quality game instead of a quality game. It seems the only person with an opinion, with a complaint, is HipHopGamer. Because instead of honestly pointing out the flaws within a game, instead of pointing out the flaws within a game developing company, so far in his video, he's only sucking a lot of dick.
You see what I'm saying? People do that all the time. People always try to devalue and discredit people because they're not other people. They're not meant to be that. Street Fighter V is not meant to be Street Fighter 4.
So Street Fighter V is not Street Fighter 4. And the developers shouldn't try to make it that way. Gamers shouldn't expect to get it. Here we are again. You're over in the gravel, and everyone's in a meadow. You're way out in left field when, you're supposed to be mid-center. Because your way of thinking is nowhere near where it should be. Because we're talking about a quality game here. We're not talking about visual quality, because I've already destroyed that stupidity. We're talking about a quality game. Not to mention that an arcade mode is a basic fundamental of the actual fighting genre within of itself. It's like a key point within the fighting genre itself. It is not something that is exclusive to Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. It is something that is inherent to every fighting game. As opposed to a story mode, yes, that is new. That is something that people haven't seen. But when a company comes out and says, we're going to do this, that's what they should get. They should not have to wait for the company to develop it, all because of a tournament. That's what this is about. The only reason why the story mode isn't in the game now is because they had to release it for the tournament. This individual wants to iterate to the greater gratification. Later on, I'm not going to sit here and crop every fucking thing I have a thought on, alright? I watched the majority of his video, and I'll just touch on this later. So there's a portion in his video where he's talking about how he understands. He has seen both sides. He's seen the development side, and he, obviously he's a gamer, so he understands both sides. And you know what? He's full of shit. Completely full of shit. You're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that you have seen the other side, that you understand the other side from a developer's aspect? You don't know fucking shit about it. You don't know any more about it than any other gamer out there. In fact, the only people that would actually know more than your average gamer is maybe people that build games for a hobby on the computer. They probably would have more understanding than you. What you're doing is making excuses for the company based off of assumptions and hearsay, not any factual evidence. It's kind of like, for example, he iterates to the greater gratification of iterating that developers don't get paid for overtime. So they'll choose to go work overtime and not get paid for it. But yet, you as a person, your boss comes up to you and he's like, yo, you want to work overtime, but we're not going to pay you? He was like, majority of people are going to say no. Because it's not because they want the money. They're there for the money. They're not there because they enjoy the work. And that's a crock of shit. Because once again, we have a misinformed person who apparently doesn't know anything. Because there are people that have actually worked overtime and they were supposed to get it and they never got it. And they're not part of a union or something like that, so they really can't fight it. Unless they legally take it to court, which they're probably not going to have the money to do it anyway, so they just let it go. We have an individual here making excuses. Excuse after excuse after excuse for a developer. Because at the end of the day, this is about quality. And we're not talking visual quality. We're talking about the quality of every aspect of a game. People getting and purchasing a game and getting all of the content that should be in it from the get-go. Not, we're going to add this in later because we want to rush it for a tournament. That's the end of this video response, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this was almost like a 30-minute video, and this was like just one part of a variety of parts. I think this is like number 4 or something, number 5, I don't know if I can know, I don't really care. It's a part something. What I find kind of ironic is he talks about how people are complaining, and yet here he is complaining about people complaining. And the reality of it is he can't really see that they're simply voicing their thoughts and concerns about something they're passionate about. And this isn't to say that gamers don't complain, because there are definitely things that gamers do honestly complain about. Now, he also does later in the video mention the story mode and how it was already known that this is what you're going to get. But the iteration to that is not everyone is going to research the games before they go and buy them. And we could, once again, we could iterate that some of the blame does go on them because they didn't do this, but it's not what they were expecting. Not to mention, throughout at least this portion of the video, I don't know of other parts, that at the end of the day, they rushed this for the tournament. That's what this was about. The tournament. Because if they wanted to make a quality game, they could have just postponed it, put the entire story mode in, put an arcade mode in, and been done with it. Him comparing Street Fighter V to Street Fighter IV and iterating that it's not the same game is completely stupid. We're not talking about Street Fighter V versus previous Street Fighter games. We're talking about Street Fighter V and what it's supposed to be and the basic fundamentals of a fighting game in general. And yet he's too blinded by his irrational fanboyism to defend this game, to defend Capcom. Because, like we iterate, a fanboy, a fangirl, what's the main premise behind them? Whatever they like can do no wrong. Whatever they love can do no wrong. Whatever they enjoy can do no wrong. Street Fighter V can't do any wrong in this guy's eyes. Capcom can't do anything wrong with this game in his eyes. He is a fanboy. There's a difference between a fan and a fanboy. And you ultimately have to ask yourself as a gamer, where do you yourself draw your line for the things that you enjoy? Do you want to be known as a fan or simply a fanboy or a girl with no rational thought, no common sense, and just straight up sucking that Capcom dick? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form, and remember, gamers, if you're not voicing your thoughts and concerns about idiocracy in the realm of gamers, such as hip-hop, you just might be a part of the motherfucking problem.